All right. Good evening. I'm Pastor Dan Thompson. I pastor Heights Church here in Columbia Heights and have 3 boys that are products of the Columbia Heights schools. And so really grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this and want to welcome our 3 candidates today. How we're going to do it today is each candidate, we're going to ask a candidate's question, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer. And then Bill is our timekeeper over here, and we'll keep it on time. We do want to remind everyone that get these things on silent and make sure if they go off, your seat will eject you, and we'll just move on. All right, so let's get started. And the first question we'll start with Hala Asamurai. I apologize.
That's okay.
Asamurai. And the question, and we'll just go down the line with this, the question to each of you is tell us briefly about yourself and why you are a candidate for the Columbia Heights School Board of Education position, Special Election B.
First, is the sound clear? Mm-hmm. First and foremost, my most important job is I'm a mom. And I'm a mom to 4 wonderful kids. And I'm also a teacher. Right now, I'm not in the classroom. Right now, I observe teachers. I work with another district. And I help them improve. And I've had... I miss being in the classroom, but I really, really love my role in my job right now because I get to help teachers improve and help students improve. And my involvement with the district right now that I work in and my previous experience being on a school board makes me feel like I can really do a good job with helping students improve achievement in this district by setting policies that are in their favor and will make everybody in the district want to bring their kids here and make everybody outside the district get on a waiting list so they can get to say that they're proud Highlanders.
Good. Scot Burdell.
Good evening. My name is Scot Burdell. Thanks for coming out this evening. I've lived in the district about 20 years. I'm a father and a parent as well. My daughter graduated from Columbia Heights Public Schools. She started here in kindergarten and completed 12th grade. Is now in her 3rd year at the University of Minnesota. My son is a junior here on the swim team, having a fabulous college career for a teenage boy. But I want to run because I believe in this community. I believe in public schools. I live here. I know all the people that work in this district, and I know what kind of jobs they do. And I also know that the current members of the board are very good people to work with, and I think really do a good job. So it'd be my honor to work with them again. I'll just mention I had served on the board of Columbia Heights for about 10 years on and off from 2004. So I could come in and hit the job running and do what I can to help the school. Thanks.
Okay, and then Tim Utz.
Hello there, good evening. Just want to share with you guys that my background is 39 years in non-commercial or non-residential construction as a carpenter foreman, superintendent, and a business owner. I'm married to Nadine. For 18 years, we have a blended family. We have 7 children between us, 6 daughters and 1 son, and a whole bunch of grandkids running around. We moved to the district in this area in 2005. I'm very involved in the community, in the Lions Club, Toastmasters, Police Reserve, Sister Cities, Silver Lake Association, the Charter Commission, the St. Anthony Chamber. I also am bringing an outside perspective. I have no kids that went to the school district here. I'm not involved in education at all. We believe in diversity, and I'd like to present and offer to the citizens an opportunity to put somebody on the school board that has a diverse background that's not part of education. I have a deep-rooted understanding of construction, building methods, and facilities, and that's an area that I could bring to the school district, the school board, would be representing that aspect of our facilities and our school and education in the city.
All right, thank you. This next question, we'll start with Scott and then go to Tim and then back over to Hala. As a school board member, how would you represent the entire community rather than individual interest groups?
Well, I think that's a good question, and it's always a balance. I think the best thing as school board members can do is listen to the community, take in everything that you hear from every single voice out there. I can remember being on the board before, and for the most part, we were all open to hearing diverse viewpoints and different views on how things are going. And of course, you know, part of the job of being a board member in the district is also to communicate that, particularly if there are issues, but great things. You know, we hear great things too about the district, to report those in to the administration and make sure they sort of hear what the public at large is saying. So, and actually that is really the job of a school board, is to represent all the population of the district and not be wedded or be part of a single issue or a certain constituency. That's just not part of the job, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Tim?
Repeat the question again for me?
Sure thing. As a school board member, how would you represent the entire community rather than individual interest groups?
I'm a big proponent of the Constitution and a student of the Constitution. That's how I view public service, is through the limits and restrictions within those documents of the state and federal. In those documents, they don't allow for special interests. They don't allow for groups per se to gain power and control of organizations and whatnot. As a member of the board, that would be my focus, to make sure that whatever we do or decide as a board is and allows for all students in a school district to have the same access and same privileges, as you would say, same liberties and same freedoms that are, and the Constitution would restrain me from going off and finding my own special interest group.
Okay, thank you. Hala?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. As a school board member, how would you represent the entire community rather than individual interest groups?
Okay, thank you. So, because a board member does not operate in isolation from the rest of the team, it's not just about, it also goes the other way. It's not just about listening to one certain group or specific people, because oftentimes the squeaky wheels are the loudest. And so, I would, if there's some issue that I hear about, I would go and I would inquire and I would make sessions where I would ask people, you know, maybe not by myself, probably as a board. I would ask that we can do it as a board, to listen to people and see what their ideas are about to whatever the topic is that's going on. It's important to bring in everybody's viewpoint, because serving on the board means you're serving everybody, not just specific people. And then also, some things really are not board work. Some things just need to be, you know, funneled through the system, you know, taken care of in specific ways. So it would also be about working with the board to try to figure out what the best course of action is, and are we really looking out for the interests of everybody if we're pursuing a certain issue or looking at you know, taking certain action or whatever. So just keeping everybody in mind. That's what I would do.
Great. Thank you. This next question will start with Tim. What do you see as the role of the school board?
I see the role of the school board in setting policy and guiding the school district, trying in as much sense as possible, following and complying with the state rules and regulations that are set. The Constitution allows the state to set rules and the focus of public education in the state. We would have mandates from the state that we would have to follow, but also the school board can direct policy. I'm a big proponent of non-traditional college-bound education. I like the idea of vocational and that type of things. Those areas that I think that the school district is missing a part of an aspect of our community that they should be also focused on. So that's some of the ideas that I would
Okay, thank you so much. Hala, what do you see as the role of the school board?
In the very generic format, it's to set policies, but to set policies for what? We need to also set goals for what we feel is important for our students and for our district and everybody involved in it, and what the community wants, what all the stakeholders want. It's very important to set goals that are related to all the stakeholders, and of course, within all the state and federal regulations that count. But we also would need to focus all of those policies to be in the interest of the students and our staff and all the district staff and the community within which the district resides. So just setting policies, but also setting goals that work for all the stakeholders.
Good, thank you. Scott, what do you see as the role of the school board?
Again, as everyone up here has said, that the role of the board is to set the policy. And again, I think where the debate comes in, what does that mean? Well, the way I look at that is the board sort of sets the tone for the district and how are we going to achieve things. And the way I look at working with others on the board and setting policy is talking about the mission and talking about the goals of the district and trying to make sure that we, in the worst case, don't have policies that go against that, but in the best case, have policies and wisdom to help the school board or the school district move forward according to its mission and the goals of the district. So we're there to make sure that, as Hollis also said, that all the stakeholders are represented, the taxpayers, the administration, but first and foremost, we're here for the students, and we need to, as a board, work together and foster, institute, and support those policies, missions, and goals to help the most kids in this district.
All right, thank you all so much. Okay, this next question will start with Hala. How would you communicate the mission of the Columbia Heights Public Schools to the community?
So I would hope that before it's set, the community has some level of involvement, and, you know, the board meetings are open, so that would be a good forum, and I would hope that people care enough to come in and listen or watch online. But, you know, we would probably put it in the newsletter, you know, have some sessions where people can ask questions if they had, you know, if they need some clarity on something. But even backtracking before that and setting the mission, it's important to hear from stakeholders first. It's important to bring in what people say, what people want, what they feel is important. And then, of course, the board is the one who's responsible and accountable for all these decisions. So the board gets to make the final decision about what they're going to take and what they don't. But it's really important to hear from people. So I would start out with having information, having sessions where you're getting information from the community, and then that way they'd just be more involved to start with, and then disseminating through newsletters, websites, et cetera.
Okay, thank you so much. Scott, how would you communicate the mission of the Columbia Heights Public Schools to the community?
Similar to what Howard said. It's hard for me to say.
In the same vein.
Right. In setting the mission and the goals of the school district, you know, you get all the stakeholders involved, members of the community, members of businesses, et cetera, teachers, administration, and you set those up. And I agree with anything we can do, websites, stating the mission at the school board meetings, posters, whatever. It's hard. Communication is one of those things where you can almost not do enough of. I mean, there's never really a point where people say, stop communicating with me, you're communicating too much, right? I mean, we're all thirsting for more information, and I know we do have newsletters, the website, and we have the school board news report that comes out weekly. So those things, and I guess as a board member, I'd be open for any other ideas from parents or other community members how we could get it out even further.
Thank you. Tim, how would you communicate the mission of the Columbia Heights Public Schools to the community?
This is an area where I'm becoming aware that the mission really isn't out there. I'll give you a quick example. We've had an election primary, we've had some special elections, primaries. There's 600 to 700 people that voted in these events, and there's like 13,000 people in the district who are eligible voters. There's a disconnect between the school district and the community. I'm not talking about parents and the cheerleading squad and the football program or whatever. I'm talking about outside that circle, the vast majority of the people in this district. There's a disconnect between the school district getting its message out. I talked to a lot of people who didn't even know there's an election coming up, the primary election's coming up. So there is a disconnect. I would focus on going out, talking to community leaders, actually going out and meeting with them, going to people who are not part of the system to find out what their views are, how they view things, because there's a lot more people in this district who aren't involved in education, that are also paying the bills for education.
Okay, thank you. All right, to this next question, we will begin with Scott. What does creating worlds of opportunity for every learner mean to you as a future school board member?
Creating worlds of opportunity for every learner means to me that every learner in this district, through kindergarten through 12th grade, has the opportunity to get a world-class education. And what do I mean by that? Children are different, so you don't have a uniform body going from grade to grade or even within grades. So I think it's important for the district, to reach out and really try to figure out what's that spark, what keeps that kid engaged in education. What is it? Whether it's music, whether it's band, whether it's choir, could be mathematics, could be English, whatever that is, foreign language. We got to figure out semi-individual or even individual learning plans and what's important to those individual students, again, to keep them engaged and allow them the opportunity to get a world-class education.
Thank you. Tim, what does creating worlds of opportunity for every learner mean to you as a future school board member?
Worlds of opportunity. I believe that we already have in place in the system opportunity for students. I think maybe part of the disconnect is how the students apply that opportunity, whatever the circumstances may be that they have in their lives or don't have in their lives. There's plenty of resources within the system of Columbia Heights, within the state of Minnesota, to provide opportunities for students. And that's about all I got to say about that, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Hala, what does creating worlds of opportunity for every learner mean to you as a future school board member?
As a future school board member, it means to me that we need to make sure that we stay true to this statement, this part of the mission here, that every student will get a well-rounded education where they can discover different parts of themselves that maybe they didn't know were there before, that they can find the areas they shine in, that they can be engaged in learning to push themselves so they can have more opportunities available to them. And so some of them, the ones who would want to go to college, would be completely ready for that, and then the ones who are going to move directly into technical areas would also be prepared for that. But another big deal for me that I think about when I look at that as someone who's been in education for a while is that we also need to think about making sure that all of our students do get these opportunities in the sense of making sure we're meeting students' IEP needs, special needs, things like that, because some people have built-in obstacles that we need to be able to go around so we can help them get a true opportunity. So creating worlds of opportunities for every learner, that's what we need to align all of our policies with.
Thank you so much. This next question we will begin with Tim. How would you involve our small-town communities to advance the educational opportunities for our students?
There's a lot of resources within the private sector in our community, a lot of businesses, different opportunities. I would really I'd go out and encourage businesses to invest in time, programs. If there's a program like Medtronics, once technical engineering, I'd be more than interested in having them participate by setting up some kind of a program within the school district for the students that are interested in that, being taught by the people from Medtronics who know what they're talking about, that type of thing. I'd be out searching for those opportunities. The construction industry, which is my favorite, my pet peeve, is I'd be out there finding opportunities for the union to bring in wood shop classes or whatever we have, or special opportunities to go to construction sites to pique the students' interest in those opportunities.
Great, thank you so much. Hala, how would you involve our small-town communities to advance the educational opportunities for our students?
The most important thing is to help our students see that when we're trying to prepare them for real life, and that's what we're trying to do, that they see where they can fit into society and how they can serve and where they can find the talents that they have and how they can use them to serve. And so a big part of that is to connect with different companies, businesses that are within our town to help them see where those things are. So, that could be something as simple as having field trips that connect to things they're working on. They could have internships. We could invite those businesses to come in and offer programs just to help kids get connected to the community. And that also helps us as educators help students see the relevance and what they're doing, so school is not just this thing that we make them do. So they understand the relevance and why this is so important, and that this is really to prepare them for the world so they can choose how they want to serve.
Thank you so much. Scott, how would you involve our small-town communities to advance the educational opportunities, to advance the educational opportunities of our students?
Sure. I would encourage the district to invite leaders from the community to come in and share experiences with our students, particularly high school students, but maybe even as young as middle school students. I know the robotics program here at the district is one example where business and the district work together to give opportunities to kids that they really wouldn't otherwise have. I think another thing that Hala hit on was, what is it like in the real world? Have people come in from different businesses, whether it's from Medtronic and engineering or whether it's from a metal shop, and talk about running a CNC machine in the skilled trades where there's a shortage of workers. I think our students deserve a broad perspective of these businesses and leaders and community members of what they do and what they like, what they don't like, and get that experience. And the other thing I would suggest too is maybe encourage leaders and community members to be mentors to some of our students. If they have a particular area that they're interested in, you could even do mentoring, perhaps even by email.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. This next question will begin with Hala. What are current challenges facing public education and school boards?
The biggest challenge right now facing public education is achievement gap, all of it, because really sky's the limit. Kids could always do better, and that's what I feel like our goal needs to be, and it probably is part of our goal, but I would like to continue to work on that, on improving all students' achievement. And I've talked about the achievement gap a lot, and you guys have probably already heard about that, so I'm not going to bore you with all that stuff. But one thing that I really find to be important about the achievement gap is some people think that we can close the achievement gap by just holding the students who are at the top and then pushing up the students at the bottom, but that's just fake. We need to move everybody's achievement up. The students at the top deserve all the opportunities just like everybody else. And so my big thing is we need to improve everybody's achievement, and we need to be at the top of the world when it comes to education. We look at how our scores are, our science and our math scores are compared to other places, and they just don't fly. And this is not a Heights issue. This is not a Minnesota issue. This is an American issue. We need to work on it. We need to find out how to make learning more relevant for our students and make them more invested in their own learning so they can take off. And that starts at the board, at making policies that make that happen.
Thank you so much. Scott, what are the current challenges facing public education and school boards?
There are lots of challenges facing public education. And as Hal mentioned, the achievement and student achievement and the achievement gap, there's a debate going on in the country is how do you measure that? You know, do you test? Do you look at other things? So that's an issue that I see too. And part of that goes with state and federal mandates as well. Lots of school districts in Minnesota and other districts that I'm familiar with have over the years lost more and more local control. So in some cases, there's not a lot of flexibility with what districts could do. And I'm talking about districts as a whole and not necessarily Columbia Heights, but in the U.S. And finally, I think another issue is the social issues we see around us. We have children in districts who are homeless. We have children who don't have steady families or stable families, and you know that is a big issue for public schools in this country.
Thank you so much. Tim, what are current challenges facing public education and school boards?
I just jotted 3 quick down here. The first one I would say is the system is way too large and unaccountable at the local levels. I've tried a couple times over the years to present ideas to the school district about political activity and whatnot. The answer always comes back, well, we can't because the state says this, the federal says that. No matter what the idea or suggestion I had or brought up for discussion, it was rebuffed because we can't because somebody else is telling us what to do. So I see the system as being way too large, way too unaccountable. For at the local level, basically, it just seems like a rubber stamp from my personal experience in bringing up ideas to the school district. Second one would be policy driven by the federal government. There's a boatload of, and I'm being told this by the people in the system, the incredible amount of regulations and requirements by the federal government. Constitutionally, there's no federal oversight of education. It's a state-driven issue. And then the third one is we've lost the understanding of the state constitution. We are required to provide an intelligent population to preserve our republic, and we've lost that part of our aspect. So we have students and a whole general population that has no concept of what kind of government we have and how it should work and how function, how they should participate, as example with our election results and how few people participate.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. This next question, I will start with Scott. What is your personal experience with and commitment to E12 public school education?
Could you repeat it again?
Personal experience. What is your personal experience with and your commitment to E12 public school education?
Okay. I'm a product of public school education. I grew up in Illinois, moved around quite a bit. My mother was an elementary education teacher. I've always attended public schools. I went to a public university for undergrad. So I'm a product of public education, and education was always important in my family. Like I said, my mother was an elementary ed teacher, and she always stressed the importance of education. delay gratification, right? You know, instead of going out and all my friends drove new cars and they worked construction and things like that, and I didn't have any money for many, many years. But anyway, but also too, being a school board member, you know, I've always believed in public education. It's a leveler. It's absolutely required. As Mr. Utz said, we need an educated public in the state and in the United States, and it is just absolutely required.
Thank you so much. Tim, what is your personal experience with and your commitment to E12 public school education?
I had a great time growing up in Southern California and going to school out there where we didn't have boundaries. You could go out for lunch. There wasn't closed campuses, wasn't police. We had a great time growing up in school. Somehow I managed to survive all that. That was my experience in public education. I have built remodeled or added on to, I think, 4 public schools. Anoka Votech was a $12 million project I supervised. I've been involved in that aspect of education, of public education. If the people of the community decide to put me in the office of school board, I will be very zealously involved in supporting public education within the confines of our state constitution.
Okay, thank you so much. Hala, what is your personal experience with and your commitment to E12 public school education?
My personal experience starts with being a product of public schools. It's actually, I really enjoy my job right now because part of my job, part of the reason why I enjoy it is because I work at the middle school that I went to middle school in Northeast Minneapolis. So it's just seeing how education has changed, but it really hasn't changed in the public sector. I'm a teacher, I've already said that, and I've worked in public schools, and right now I am working in a public school. My commitment, the extent of my commitment is that I believe wholeheartedly that all students can learn, all students can achieve, and it's our job to help them meet their potential. My master's is in teaching, and my doctorate is in instructional leadership. It's also in education, and it's around the idea of helping teachers and school systems work more efficiently and effectively to help students achieve better. And I'm getting my principal license right now because I want to serve in a public school because in this country and across the world, education is not a privilege, it's a right. Everybody's right is to get a good education. They shouldn't have to be paying for it. My kids have always been in public schools, and my board experience was in a school that is a non-districted public school.
Thank you. All right, with this next question, we will begin with Tim. When asked by constituents, what would you say are this district's strengths?
Table topics is something that we do in Toastmasters where you ask a question with no idea what they're going to talk about, and this is one of those questions like, wow, okay. What would I say, the school districts or the communities?
This district's
District's strengths. I believe we have parents that are really committed to the school and the education that they have. I know we have good facilities. I do know that there needs to be some improvements, but we do have good facilities. Then we have an opportunity in a process like this to have an election, and I can run for office in this for this spot. That's
All right, thank you. Hala, when asked by constituents, what would you say are this district's strengths?
I would definitely say that I do believe that this district's strengths lies in providing students with a lot of opportunities. I've worked in a lot of different schools, and I look at for example, some of the opportunities that are at the high school here, and they're really amazing. I mean, yeah, a lot of schools have the AP program and the early college, but not every school does. That really is a big deal to have it here. And then the wide array of electives that are offered are really good for students. They're not just electives to toss into classes. They're opportunities for students to find themselves and to find relevance in school and make connections between things. So all the opportunities. And then also, of course, we can't ignore the dedicated staff who work in the district and on the board. Those are really important. So those would be the top two things that I'd say.
Okay, thank you so much. Scott, when asked by constituents, what would you say are this district's strengths?
I would say one of the biggest strengths of this district, along with what's been mentioned, is this district has a really great relationship with the city of Columbia Heights, its police department, and its fire department. And there's mutual trust, mutual respect, and just an aura of collaboration. So we figure out how to get things done, like new gyms where the city owns one. I agree, for a district this size, we offer lots and lots of choices for kids to figure out what it is they want to do, what they want to learn about. Lots of opportunity to try different things, AP courses, as was mentioned, things like that. I think, again, for a district our size, our facilities are very good as well. So I think those are the things I can remember what I would say the strengths of this district are. Of course, we do have a dedicated staff. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. Having been on the board, I know how hard our staff works and how many hours and hours and hours they all spend here. So,
All right, thank you so much. This next question will begin with Hala. I tend to call myself Columbia Heights' #1 cheerleader. I just think there are so many good things that are going on in this community, and that's why I've stayed involved. That's why I'm proud of 3 sons that have graduated from this school district. And the question here is this. In your opinion, what are some of the hidden gem programs of Columbia Heights Public Schools? What are some of the hidden gem programs in the Columbia Heights Public Schools?
Hidden gem programs. Let's see. So some of the gifted and talented programs in the elementary. For sure, the AP program, the new program that's started this year, the early college with one of the community colleges. I really like the engineering classes, and I've talked a lot about the high school.
Sure.
I am a high school teacher, so I think that way. It really comes down to all the opportunities where students get to excel and find themselves and not be limited by the person sitting next to them.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Scott, in your opinion, what are some of the hidden gem programs in Columbia Heights Public Schools?
One that I'm familiar with, having 2 kids in the district, one is the child care, the preschool and after-school program is just phenomenal. I can remember when my son was in it, he never wanted to leave. We always picked him up at 6 o'clock. Another thing I think a hidden gem in this district is our placement center, with the number of people coming in and out of here and the number of language spoken. Is just they do a phenomenal job. There's thousands and thousands of children that come through there every year. We have a edible science project in the back here, the garden, which I think is really neat. And I, again, being on the board before, having the privilege of touring and watching kids learn outside. So those are some of the hidden gems I think we have in this district.
All right, thank you so much. Tim, in your opinion, what are some of the hidden gem programs in the Columbia Heights Public Schools?
I don't know enough about the programs within a school district to answer that question. Related to a program, though, as a member of the Lions Club, every year we give out grants to students at the high school here. We get between 80 and 100 applications, and I'm on the 3-member panel who picks the students who receive those grants. It has been a privilege the last, I think, 2 or 3 years to do that. Go through the questionnaire or the applications. It's fascinating to me, the diversity that we have in students here at the school. It's one thing I do appreciate. And the aspirations that they have both to go to college and to go to VOTEC and to learn trades and whatnot. So that's a gem that we have in the school district. Is there is a lot of there's a lot of organizations I've discovered that give money away to students at the high school level for graduation to go to other education.
Thank you. And I do want to say on that note, I think last year the amount was for scholarships for high school graduating seniors was around $300,000. It is an amazing community effort that this district has to help kids get to college. There are very few school districts that have that kind of commitment from the community. Those are great. That's always a great opportunity. We have one more question, and we will begin with Scott. What is the relationship between social media, the community, and the position of the school board member?
I think social media is here to stay. I think as a board, it could be a way to communicate as a board to the community at large. I know a lot of our community members are on social media. I know the school has social media sites, and it's a fact of life maybe to communicate that we as a board consider, or the board considers, using social media to get its message out there. I personally don't use social media all that much. I use it on a professional level. I am familiar with it. I do have two, and a young adult and a teenage boy, so I'm certainly familiar with everything that's out there. But I think in order to reach segments of our population, we have to be proactive and active, I think, on social media with the right message.
Thank you. Tim, what is the relationship between social media, the community, and the position of the school board member?
Social media is a great forum. It's, like I said, it's here to stay. The school district should take full advantage of it. I know the school district does take advantage of it, but I believe it can always expand and work further into those areas of social media, and I believe that the school board should direct that, and members individually should be able to go out there and use social media to promote and support the education of the students in this district.
Okay, thank you so much. And Hala, what is the relationship between social media, the community, and the position of the school board member?
Well, social media is a medium we can't really deny right now. It's a big deal. It's a big way to communicate ideas. But I believe that every school board member, any one school board member, needs to be extremely careful with using it, even as a mode of communication, if it isn't something that's the school board's social media account or something like that. Because being part of a school board is working as a team, and decisions and execution of those decisions need to be a group effort, teamwork. It can't be individuals putting out information about board stuff. So in terms of communicating board stuff, that shouldn't be individual, that shouldn't be school board members doing that individually. But I believe the school board needs to or can use that as a communication tool. And then individual school board members also, they have, it's their personal account. They should be able to use it as they see fit, but they're still accountable to what they put on, because these are the people, these are the individuals that do make up the school board. So it's a tool. Used correctly, it can be very powerful. Used without good discretion, can be very harmful.
All right, thank you so much. Those are the questions that we have tonight. Let's thank our candidates here for their participation tonight. And we also want to thank Local 710 for providing the forum for us and the refreshments. Let's thank them. We want to thank all of you for taking the time to be here tonight. I know we have the refreshments over there and the opportunity just to chat a little bit more. So thank you for attending tonight and have a great night.